Hey guys, gonna wait for a few people to pop on. If you've come on here, just say hello. There we go. Hey, as you guys pop on, just say hey. Hi. Hey everybody, just popping on now. I'm gonna be doing a Q&A about all things spirituality. If you have any questions about past lives or soul's journeys, go ahead and feel free to ask them in the comments below. I'm gonna ask all the comments in order, so any questions that you have, I'll just go through and answer them. So any questions about shadow work, about spirituality, about old souls and new souls, or anything that you guys are thinking, pop them into the comments below. I'm here to answer any questions that you have. Usually when I do these Dear Danny Q&As, in the beginning, everybody's kind of quiet and waiting for more people to come on and ask something. They don't want to be the first. But by the end, I get so many questions that I can't get to them all. So if you have a question that you want answered, let me know. I want to know what it is that you want to know about spirituality or starting a soul journey. Cool. Hey, everybody just coming on, doing a little Q&A about all things spirituality and spiritual connection. So let me know what questions you have. I actually just hosted a big event yesterday in Philly, which is where I'm based. And it was an in-person event. We did shadow work together. We did meditation. We did Kundalini. We were at a float center, so everybody got a chance to float and try halo salt therapy. It was just an amazing day. And at the end, we did a little Q&A. And one of the questions that came through that was really cool is, when you're first getting into spirituality, how do you really open your third eye? Like, how do you actually start to see things the way that other people can? Because I know it can be difficult in the beginning. So what you can do, and my biggest advice for everybody on this, super easy, is to just start listening to binaural beats. Binaural beats are essentially two different noises happening in each ear. And when this happens, it causes the brain to have a little bit of a disconnect in a good way, where it tricks the brain into going into theta brainwaves, which allows you to access the unconscious mind, and it opens your third eye. So if you start listening to binaural beats, like every single day, like just as you're going about your day, make sure you have headphones on because you want those two different noises happening at the same time. You're really going to start to open your third eye. Okay, cool. So questions coming through. Gabriella asks, can your soulmate change? Oh, I love this question. And there is a difference between soulmates and twin flames. And this is really important because we all have a lot of soulmates. It's not just one. This idea of soulmates that we've been fed through movies and TV shows and books and just society as a whole is not exactly how it goes. Our souls have incarnated a lot of times. And every time we come back to this plane, every time we come back here, we connect with different people. And what happens is our souls really form a connection with more than one person. Like, let's just say you've lived 10 times, theoretically. And throughout those 10 lifetimes, let's say you got married in 8 of them. And let's say throughout those 8 lifetimes, you married a different person each time. And maybe your gender switched, so it was men, women, whoever it was that you're with, and whatever kind of relationship it looked like. Those relationships are soul connections, because now in this lifetime, if you encounter any of those 8 souls, you're going to feel that, like, oh my God, we've known each other forever feeling. You might even feel it with different people, like soulmate friends, where it's like you just, the second you meet each other, you're like, oh yeah, like we're besties now. It's like your souls recognize each other. So yes, your soulmate can be more than one person. It doesn't mean that they're changing. It's not like your soulmate is your current partner and then all of a sudden you meet someone else and there's a different person. It just is an opportunity to meet different soulmates, and you're going to have a lot of them. So I love that question. Thank you so much for asking it. Okay, what do I recommend to unblock a root chakra? This is also a good question. You guys are coming with good questions today. So just a basic overview for anybody who doesn't understand the question. We have 7 main chakras, which are energy centers that run down the center of our bodies. Starts at the very top of our head at the crown. Then we have the third eye. We have our throat, our heart, solar plexus, sacral is just behind your belly button at the navel, and then the root chakra, which is at the very base of your spine. And the root chakra is really responsible for grounding your energy, making you feel safe, making you feel connected to the earth. So when you feel like your root chakra is blocked, what you're missing a lot of the time is grounding and safety. So you're going to want to figure out which of those two things it is. Do you feel unsafe? Do you feel like you can't trust yourself or trust other people? Or is it really about not being grounded? Like you're really just up in the clouds. You feel like you're just a little bit jittery and off somewhere else. The reason why I feel like you should make this distinction is because my answer would be different for either one. So if you're lacking in the groundedness, like you just feel like you're up in the clouds and you can't actually ground your energy, you feel jittery, you feel disconnected from the earth, what I would recommend doing, if possible, because I know this isn't possible for everybody, is to ground your energy by actually getting your feet into the earth. Like go stand in the dirt. And the reason why I recommend this is because the earth, like everything else on this planet, carries an electrical charge. And when you stand on the earth, in your bare feet, you can't have shoes on or anything else. We really need that connection to be completely connected. You want to pull up that energy from the earth. You want to use that energy to ground yours. And what will happen is you'll forge a connection between you and between the earth to ground your energy. Other things you could do are literally roll around on the floor, not kidding, like actual thing. It's raining now, so that's not an impossibility. Sitting on the floor of your house, just really connecting into the earth in that way. Meditating, which is very grounded energy. When you sit, your sit bones are connected into the earth. Hi. All those things will really make you feel grounded. You can also eat foods that are really from the earth, like things like carrots and beets and potatoes, stuff that's come out of the dirt, because that'll have grounded energy connected to it. If it's the other thing, if it's like a lack of safety, if it's because you don't feel really comfortable in your space, comfortable in your body, and that's making your root chakra feel disconnected, first you want to figure out what is it that's making you feel that way. Is it a person? Is it a situation? Like if you're going back to college right now and it's making you feel really unsafe and disconnected and you're nervous about it, that would be a good reason to really have that disconnect. What you would do in a case like that, where it's really about a lack of safety, is try to create as much safety as possible. So what are the things, what are the people that make you feel safe, and start using them. So connect with your family or your friends who make you feel like you're back home and really make you feel good, like you're wrapped up in a warm blanket. Literally go wrap yourself in a warm blanket and watch some good movies that make you feel comfortable and safe, and maybe they help you recall your childhood. All these different things that make you feel safe. For the long run, if this is a bigger issue, like you never really feel safe, it's been years where you feel disconnected, shadow work is what I would recommend. Shadow work, for anybody who's never heard about it before, is like my whole thing. It's what I do. Shadow work is the process of going into the unconscious mind to make the unconscious conscious. And when we bring that unconscious material into the forefront of your mind, what we're doing there is we are really using that information to help you heal. So if there are moments throughout your life, like in your childhood or maybe your high school career or your job, that have made you feel unsafe or disconnected or like you can't trust yourself, you can go in and heal those moments. That way it can really just make you feel reconnected. Becca says, yeah, I've been slacking on shadow work. Okay, shameless plug here then. I have a book on Amazon. It's called The Shadow Seeker's Journal. It's only $15 if you live in the US. It's a little bit more if you live out of the country. But this shadow work journal has 80 pages of prompts inside of it. And what you're going to do is you're going to meditate. And when you're done meditating, the meditating piece is important because it helps you access the unconscious mind. But when you meditate, you're going to use these questions and you're going to answer them from a place where you're not really thinking. You're just letting your pen go. And when you do that, the unconscious stuff is going to become conscious and the shadow is going to come through very naturally. It's easier than you think it is. I know shadow work sounds scary and it sounds intense, but it doesn't have to be. It can be really beautiful, and it's a process of reconnecting to yourself. I used to be a licensed therapist. I still technically am a licensed therapist, but I'm not practicing therapy anymore. And one of the things that I've always loved about shadow work is it's like doing years of therapy collapsed into a small amount of time, because you can go so deep and learn so much about yourself. Okay, guys, for anybody who's just joining us now, I'm doing a Q&A about all things spirituality. Ask any questions that you have, whether they're about past lives or about how to increase your aura, how to do shadow work, like whatever it is that you're thinking. I know in the early stages of spirituality, when you're first kind of waking up, can be difficult and a little bit scary because you don't really know what you're doing. You don't know what questions to ask. So this is the moment to ask away. Yeah, that's definitely too forward. Thank you. I hear a lot about shadow work. I've got some deep things though, like decades worth. That's normal. We all do. Everybody has lifetimes worth of baggage that they're holding on. All do. Everybody has lifetimes worth of baggage that they're holding on to. Going into past lives. And we end up seeing those moments. We end up seeing our past. And when we do, we experience things like having ourselves die before our eyes. Like you re-experience that again, or see the loss of a baby, or heartbreaks that you've experienced throughout multiple lifetimes. And when you see those things, you'll realize that you're carrying them around with you. And trauma is interesting in that we carry trauma in our bodies. Our brains can kind of have these moments where we can push things away. We can block them out. We can make them into something that we can deal with them more easily. But our bodies don't have that capability. They can't hide from trauma. Trauma lives in your body. So when you experience a trigger, it comes back up again. And something that it's like you see it and like your whole body kind of goes numb, or you switch into fight or flight, or it's like ice is running through your veins. And that can happen very often for us, and we don't understand where it is that the trigger comes from. We don't remember the moments that they were created. It's so important to do our shadow work. What's neat is that you don't heal from it. It never goes away. 23 years later and it hit me. It's true. That's literally why shadow work is so important, because with shadow work, what you're doing is you're actually going and healing from it. That way it doesn't get carried around with you. Something that I've seen throughout my work, so my background's in psychology and cognitive neuroscience, and I worked as a therapist for over a decade. And now I do shadow work. And one of the things I've consistently seen throughout all of that, throughout all of my studies, is that if we do not heal trauma, what happens is it piles up. And it piles up in such a way that it's like the brain can't contain it anymore. It doesn't know what to do with it. So it starts leaking through, which is why that happens. Where like 20 years later and something you thought you were over, it just hits you. And then you have to figure out what to do with it at that point, which is unfortunate because it's something that could have maybe been dealt with years ago. I know I felt this for myself. I'm in my 30s. I had cancer when I was 29. That's when I was diagnosed. And it was because of years and years of trauma that I'd never actually gotten to the root of. I had no idea a past trauma was influencing me so much. Glad it came out so I can try to deal. You know, all of us carry these traumas. Every single one of us has trauma that we hold on to. And we're taught as a society to really go through and repress. Like we're taught to just push it down, keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. Don't pay attention to it. Just keep going. Hustle, hustle, hustle. And then one day you wake up and it's like your whole body is wrecked. We're a society that has more autoimmune diseases than any other. This is a time in history where we're more sick than we've ever been. And we don't understand where it's coming from. But all of the research shows that the number one cause of all illnesses, especially chronic ones, is chronic stress. That's crazy, isn't it? Considering we're mostly chronically stressed. We have to get to the root of those shadows. We have to do our shadow work. I just got my first tarot deck, and it's the Akashic Tarot. I feel very connected to this. It's a great deck. I just got goosebumps. I think that's going to be really, really good for you. I wonder what it is that pulled you to that deck in particular, but if it was your intuition, you're spot on. If any of you guys have never used a tarot deck or an oracle deck, because either one is perfectly fine, they're great tools in the beginning to really start connecting with your intuition and start getting messages from spirits. It's beautiful. And when you actually use these tools to connect in with yourself, you're going to learn so much about who you are, your soul's purpose, why you're here. It's like having guidance all the time. Another little trick, and this is an awesome trick, that I love to use when I'm trying to get guidance from myself is to do what's called the Human Pendulum. So what you guys are going to do the Human Pendulum is you chug like a glass of water. 8 ounces is good. And then wait a couple minutes because you really need the water to be settled into your body. And then what you do is you stand with your feet about hip width apart, arms down by your sides, and you ask your body some yes or no questions. So you can ask a question like, is my name fill in the blank here. So I'll do it first. Is my name Danielle? And what will happen is your body will naturally just start to swing in one direction or the other. It's like a pendulum. My body swings forward for yes and back for no. That's not the case for everybody. So for instance, is my name Christina? My body swings back. If I have a question that I want answered about myself, like, should I go on this trip? Should I invest money in this course? Should I buy this book? I use the human pendulum. And when I do it, I get an immediate body answer, because our bodies, just like how they hold on to trauma, also are highly intelligent and able to tell us what it is that we need to know about ourselves and the things that we should be doing. This is one of my favorite tools. So hold on to it and see how it feels and try it out. Let me know what happens if you do. Oh, that's funny. You just heard about it yesterday. And the human pendulum is so cool. Okay, so my intuition for sure, but I would like to know more about past lives. My intuition tells me there's something there. Well, then you're in the right place, because a big part of the work that I do is working with past lives. I'm a past life practitioner. It's something I've been doing for years, and it's a big section of shadow work, because our past lives hold so much of our trauma and so much of our soul's purpose. When we do shadow work, when you have a shadow work session with me or with somebody else, the whole point is to go back into the unconscious and to find things that need to be healed. Because when you find those and you do the work to heal them and make them into conscious memories, you can change them and influence them and help them restructure your brain. So with our past lives, many of us are carrying intense traumas. I mean, think about like the movies that you've seen about history, the books that you've read. Obviously, these things are not historical facts. They are fiction, but they give you enough indicator into the fact that things were not as nice in other times. Things were a little bit more intense. I mean, this is not a wonderful time either. Like, things are not perfect in this moment in time in 2021, but it's definitely easier than, say, living in like 1137, where maybe there was a lot more hardship, more disease, more chances of dying young, more chances of losing a child. Things were just more intense. And when we go back and see those moments, you can feel it in your body. It's like your whole body reacts like it happened to you yesterday, because the body does not forget trauma. The brain can block it out, but the body doesn't forget. So with that shadow work, with past life regressions, we're going back to heal those moments so that they can change what happens for us in the future. It's just so cool. Let's see. We are awesome and stubborn. I started seeing and hearing so many signs starting in March. The universe is not subtle. No, it's not. I was telling the people who were on earlier today that I have like a long history with spirit. I used to see spirits as a kid. I repressed for a while and then I came back to it. But when I was judging myself and having a hard time really stepping into my soul's purpose, I kept getting the same message over and over again, like on repeat. And it's a weird one, but there was like a Panic at the Disco song that every time I turned on the radio, the song would come on, and it like didn't matter where I was. Like, I could be at a supermarket, which is not usually the place you hear Panic at the Disco, somebody else's car, like it would just always come on. And it was like, okay, like I get it. And I started listening to the lyrics and it made sense to me. And if we're not listening, we might miss those things, but no, the universe is not subtle. It kind of hits you with the same message over and over. Okay, so I promised myself yesterday that I would devote today to shadow work, and I've been procrastinating. Okay, well, here's your universe message to get the Shadow Seekers Journal, because it is going to make your shadow work so much easier. It's on Amazon. You can use the link in my bio or head to my website. It'll just make it so much more seamless, so it won't have to feel like such a battle getting into that shadow work. Becca asked, can we still have blocked chakras but have a very strong intuition? Absolutely. That's not uncommon at all. When your chakras are blocked, it's just energy centers that are having a bit of a disconnect, but your third eye and your crown are really where you're getting a lot of your spirit guided messages from, and your intuition very often comes from your solar plexus. It's like your gut speaking to you. But this also depends on where it is that you're getting your information from. So think about it like this. If you're getting messages through the crown, you're getting messages from spirit guides. If you're getting messages up through your gut, you're getting messages from your higher self. If you're getting messages through your third eye, it's your unconscious mind speaking to you. It's like your shadow essentially talking to you. So all of your other chakras can be blocked, and one of those three can be really wide open, and your intuition stays strong because you're still getting direct messages. So think about it a little bit and see which ones are blocked and which ones are open. Or maybe even think about where it is that you feel like you're hearing the messages from, because that will completely change what it is that you're experiencing. Like if you realize that your intuition, there's always been messages that feel like they're just dropped down into your head, where it's like you just know things you're not supposed to know. That's probably spirit guide speaking to you. Or if it's like a true gut reaction, then that is your higher self. If you're getting them through all three, that's awesome. That's exactly what's supposed to be happening. We are being guided constantly from different areas, from different places. And it's important for us as spiritual beings to really start to listen so much to all these different voices that are coming through, because they're coming through for a reason. They're coming through to help guide us. They're coming through to help us connect in with the best version of who we are. And it's good to be able to listen to all three. What you can start to do now is start to differentiate between the voices and figure out who is who. So when your higher self speaks to you, think about what the voice sounds like. How does it feel in your body to receive those messages? If it's being dropped down from the crown, is it different voices? Is it the same voice every time? Is the whole purpose behind it different? Because that could mean different spirit guides reaching out. Really start to play with this a little bit. It could be fun. Let's see, I bought a different shadow workbook for empaths. I'm going to have to get yours too. Yeah, definitely get mine. Shameless plugs here. It really is, it's good. I took all of my work throughout my years as a licensed psychotherapist, because I think that training was really important for me to understand trauma, to understand the mind, to understand what it is that we need to know how to keep ourselves safe, all these different pieces. And I applied it into this book with the spiritual connection stuff. And that merger between the two is so important. Okay, it's absolutely different feelings for sure. You're welcome. I was meant to find your life for sure. Thank you. I'm so glad you found me, Becca. Yeah, any questions for anybody who's popping on or anybody who's been on for a while? Let me know what questions you have about spirituality. Anything, literally anything that you're wondering about, whether it is about shadow work or past lives or about our souls or anything along those lines. Let them come through. Working on your psych degree. That's awesome. If you're going through and getting a psych degree, think about what it is that you want to do with it. Like, what's the end goal? Because something that I used to deal with all the time is such a weird aside. I used to be a professor at Penn State. And when I was a professor, I would see so often, because I worked in the psychology and cognitive neuroscience field, that the students who would come through would choose this degree and not know what it was that they wanted to do with it. Then they would get into year 4, year 3 and be like, okay, I'm here. What is it that I want to do now? Where do I want to go with this? Start to think about where it is that you want to end up, because most of the time with a psychology degree, you have to get a master's degree afterwards. A psych degree doesn't really qualify you to do much of anything, which sucks, but it's the truth. So where is it that you want to go? I always have so many questions, but now that I have a chance to ask them, I can't remember them. Hey, feel free to message me to put questions in my posts. I love when people put questions inside of my actual TikTok videos, because then I can make a video response for them. Because if you have the question, it's likely that thousands of other people have the exact same question. So it just makes it amazing. Oh, here are the questions coming. I know this sounds crazy, but I swear I flew one time as a child. Am I crazy? No, you're not crazy. I've actually heard this from other people too. So this is a weird thing. As kids, we are more likely to do things that are spiritual, including having paranormal abilities or being able to do things like astral project, which is where our soul kind of leaves our body. And when we do that, obviously we're not confined by this physical form, so we can do a lot more stuff. So I'd be interested to know, and even to work with you with some shadow work, to see that moment again, because with shadow work, we can go back to those moments to find out more about what it was like. How do you get over the innate fear that you may have to leave someone important behind when you connect to your highest self? Yeah, that's a really good question, because this happens all the time. I have a group program, the Create Your Light Academy, and we do shadow work over the course of 2 months. And inevitably, every single round, when we start, everybody's in the same place. And when we end, everybody's moved so far beyond the people in their life, whether it is their partners, their friends, their family members, that it can feel really isolating and hard. One of the clearest signs of a spiritual awakening is the feeling of isolation, like you're leaving everyone and everything you knew behind. It is inevitable. And at the same time, that doesn't mean those relationships are over. The way that I like to think about it is like it's an invitation for the other people in your life to grow with you. If you are moving so far ahead, what's going to happen is you are going to look different to other people. You're going to be happier. You're going to be more balanced. You're going to be more grounded. And they're going to have the opportunity to ask you questions like, how did you do that? What does it feel like? Can you help me? And if they do, they get to come with you. They get to be part of it. Same thing goes for my old therapy work. When I would have one half of a couple come to therapy and the other one not come, one of them would do so much soul work and connect in and grow as a human being, and the other person would be left behind. And for the beginning, it would cause some disconnect. And in the end, it caused one of two reactions, which is either they split up or the other person grew with them and met them where they were, which is always beautiful. So I know that it could be hard, but it's also extremely important work to do. Don't stop your growth. Let's see. I love past life work. I just don't know where to start doing it as a career. So where do you start? That's awesome. My recommendation when you want to do past life work is to get a mentor, and not just any mentor. Work with someone who has a serious trauma background. I'm talking certifications or licenses. Because with past life work, it is so easy to re-traumatize someone or to cause more harm than good. So you want to make sure you're learning from someone who is legit. I'm in the process of creating a certification course for this. It's not going to come out until next year, so if you're patient, you can wait for that one. But it's going to give all of the trauma background. It is so key that we do not cause more harm than good. Are recurring dreams something we experienced in a past life? Depends. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And there's a distinct difference between the two. So if you have a reoccurring dream that's like exactly the same thing over and over, and it obviously feels like it's from a past time where like the clothing is antiquated, it feels like it's very different, you feel like you're in a different body, that's a past life coming through. If it's you, obviously like feeling like your current self, and it's a situation that keeps playing out over and over again, that is your psyche trying to speak to you. That is still the unconscious mind, but that is the shadow trying to relay a message. And depending on what it is, depends on the message. Some common recurring dreams that people have that are based around anxiety are things like showing up in a group setting and not having any clothing on. Another common one is having a dream where you lose all of your teeth. That's a common anxiety dream. Recurring dreams about being chased, especially by a witch. That usually means there's a powerful woman in your life who is chasing you down and making you feel powerless. Fear of falling, like having recurring dreams where you fall at the end. All of these are recurring dreams that are not past lives. They're just indicators of your emotional state. Okay, lots of questions coming through, so I'm trying to make sure I answer everything. Let's see. I recently found out that my spirit guides want to present themselves to me, but I don't know how. I'm kind of nervous. Don't be nervous. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. Fear actually really blocks our third eye and also allows darker things to come through, which is not what we want. We really want to protect the space and keep it really loving and warm. One of the ways that I recommend doing this is allowing them to come through you in meditation where it's a really controlled space. So really set the tone. Like make sure you're in a comfy space. Make sure you have all of your like yummy lighting and warm candles and essential oils, everything that makes you feel really good. And when you're in that space, meditate. And when you get into that meditative state, just ask out loud, Spirit guides, what is it that you want to tell me? And you're going to feel it, like an answer coming up through you or like dropping down into your head, and you're not going to know where it's coming from. You can ask them anything. Ask them who they are, what messages they have for you, and it's just going to pop in. It is beautiful, so don't be afraid. I get a sick feeling when I hear from my gut. My head and heart messages are full of love, clear messages and signs, but my belly ones, ... So the belly ones, there's something about that. There's something that's coming up from there that's not really connecting in. I would love to do some shadow work with you to figure out what that is, because there's a few things that are coming to mind that it could be. It could be your shadow speaking to you in that way, where like all the dark stuff that you're trying to repress is coming through. That's most likely. And shadow work would help you clear that up so that the messages don't feel so heavy. Okay, let's see. I feel like it's through meditation, but it's hard for me to concentrate. So when you have trouble concentrating when you're meditating, it is because you have a lot of shadow, which, as you guys know from everything I've said today, is a lot of unconscious stuff kind of clogging you up and stopping you from being able to live your life fully. When we have experiences early in our life that feel heavy, that feel traumatic, what happens is we repress them and we really bury them away. And they can only stay buried away for so long. And one of the ways that we see this is with meditation, where when your mind gets quiet and you really just let yourself go there, all this stuff that you've been trying to push away is like, nope, we have a chance to escape. We're coming out. So shadow work would help a ton with the inability to concentrate and to really meditate. But what I can say for you to practice is that you can start to really just let yourself go there for a couple of minutes a day. So just like sitting in a quiet space, you can have music on, you can look at a flame and keep your eyes open, but just let yourself be for 2 minutes without any distractions or things that are negative that are going to pull your attention, like no phone, no internet, no TV in the background. And just build that time up every single day. So maybe you could do it for 5 minutes. Maybe you could do it for 10 minutes. And when you start to do that, it gets a lot easier. And then you're going to be able to discern what those messages that are coming through are. Okay, I only have time for one more question. So let me just go through and find the most further back one. Let's see. Do I do a mentor program? So I have my Create Your Light Academy, which is a group program where I teach people shadow work, how to do it, and how to connect it and heal. So if you have questions about that, just send me a message. Okay, let's see. Reoccurring dreams, fear, isolation. Yep. Okay, good. So how can we organize shadow work with you? So to work with me with shadow work, it's all through my group program. All you have to do is go to my website, click on the link to apply, and then we have a short phone call to see whether or not you're a good candidate for shadow work. Honestly, I think most people need shadow work. I'm not going to lie, but sometimes people aren't ready for shadow work because it is really deep, it's really vulnerable, and it's heavy stuff. But it's only heavy in the beginning. Over time, as we really pull that shadow stuff up, it gets easier and easier. But I am still offering one-to-one past life regressions, which you can schedule right through my website, IamDanielleMassi.com. The link for that is also in my bio. All right, guys, I actually have to go ahead and do a past life regression right now. So I love you all so much. Thank you for joining me live, and I'll see you guys soon. Yay for mental health counselors. I'm a licensed therapist too, so hey. All right, guys. Bye, everybody.